Game of Thrones Season 7 Episode 3 has aired. It was called The Queen's Justice. And if you thought Episode 2 was a ripper, then this one is even better. It was action-packed. There was so much going on. And yeah, today we're going to tear it apart, analyse it, review it, and see what was what. Here we go. The episode kicked off with Jon and Davos arriving at Dragonstone to meet Daenerys and her crew. And, you know, this is something we've waited for years. Jon and Dany very much represent ice and fire. This is something book readers have waited for decades. I mean, you know, finally, these two huge players have met. Jon first encounters Tyrion, who greets him. And Jon and Tyrion, they haven't had a lot of screen time together, but they do have history. They met in Season 1 where Tyrion travelled with Jon to the wall, where he pissed off the edge of the wall. And, you know, he gave Jon some good advice, but he did say, you know, he doesn't think there's anything north of the wall other than snarks and grumpkins. And, you know, Jon and Tyrion, they haven't had a lot of time together, but they became quite good buddies at the time they did have. And it was nice to see them get a reunion, the way they, you know, smiled as they saw each other, shook hands. I thought it was going to do a classic 80s cut showing their biceps pulsing as they shake hands. But, you know, it was good to see those two characters back together. Tyrion is someone Jon can kind of trust, you know. He doesn't know Daenerys, he doesn't know any of her followers, but he does know Tyrion. And Tyrion's very much a good way for those two characters to be able to speak with each other. He kind of is the bridge that brings them together. And I love the way that, you know, Jon arrives, he's sceptical, and then as they're walking up to Dragonstone, suddenly Drogon just comes swooshing down, and Jon and Davos just nearly shit themselves. I mean, it was so funny. You know, the look on Jon's face, he's seen a lot of crazy stuff over the past 7 seasons, but, you know, he hasn't seen a dragon. And him and Davos just, yeah, they had a pretty big shock, but who could blame them? Who wouldn't have jumped out their skin when a dragon flies overhead? But I thought that was a great way for Davos and Jon to know, even before meeting Daenerys, that she's serious. She's got dragons. You then see Varys and Melisandre have some more screen time together. You know, Varys is very sceptical of the Red Priestess, and she says that she is going to go to Volantis, and says that she will return to Westeros after Varys has died, which is, you know, she seems to be able to see the future a little bit, not very accurately, but she does know some things. Does this mean Varys is in trouble? You know, I don't know. Let's hope the spider keeps on rolling for a while. He's a very entertaining character. Why Melisandre's going to go to Volantis? It's anyone's guess really at this point. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a specific reason she'd go there, but clearly there's something calling her there. It's notable that last time she met Arya, she said to her, "We will meet again." So it does seem likely she will return to Westeros before the end of the show and will meet Arya. Maybe she'll encounter her on her way to Volantis, who knows. But yeah, I think we'll be seeing more of Melisandre in the near future. Then Jon and Dany finally meet face to face. I thought it was a great scene. It was great the way they were kind of sparring against one another with words. You know, Jon was like, "Listen, your dad was a bad dude." She's like, "I know, but, you know, don't judge me by the sins of my father." She kind of has a claim to the throne, but Jon doesn't want to bend the knee. You know, it was very kind of back and forth. I thought that was a very well-written scene. I loved the bit where Daenerys is introduced by Missandei as, you know, Daenerys Stormborn, breaker of chains, great Khaleesi, you know, and then Davos kind of, Jon looks at Davos like, "Go on, introduce me," and he's like, "Oh yes, this is Jon Snow, top fella," you know. But I feel like Jon Snow, he has plenty of accomplishments himself. He defended the wall from the wildlings. He won the Battle of the Bastards. He survived the massacre at Hardhome. I think Jon, you know, if I'd have been there, I'd have been like, "Look, this guy's done some shit as well, okay?" But it was great to see Davos being a great wingman there. And later on, he's like, he essentially does do that. He goes, "Listen, this guy, he's been through some shit. He inspires loyalty. He almost died." Oh, I mean, no, he didn't die and come back to life, definitely not. I think he should have said that. I mean, no one would have believed him, but, you know, they could have got Melisandre to come in and be like, yeah, I resurrected this guy. He's pretty important, clearly. But it seems like for now they're keeping that under wraps. But overall, I thought it was a great scene. It's great to see Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke finally get to act off one another. And I thought it was very enjoyable and very satisfying. Then Euron returns to King's Landing with Ilaria Sand, Tyann Sand and Yara Greyjoy as his prisoners. He clearly has the love of the small folk. They're cheering him as he's coming in. He's like a rock star. He says, I could get used to this. He presents his prisoners, not Yara, but just a sand snake to Cersei, which kind of makes sense. Cersei wouldn't really know who Yara is. She's got no real beef with her. And, when I saw him present his prisoners to her, I thought they are fucked. I mean, Cersei can be a real bitch when you haven't done anything to her. However, Elia killed Myrcella, her daughter, for no really good reason. And, I just thought Cersei is going to go nuts. It's clear that she's very enamoured by Euron. She's very pleased with the gift he gave her. And it looks like she is going to marry him once the war is won. I mean, did you see Jaime's face? How sour he looked? He clearly has Euron's number. He does not like that guy. And the way Euron was, testing him and asking how Cersei likes it in the bedroom. I mean, you could tell Jaime just wanted to smash his face in with his golden hand. And he very nearly did. Then it cuts to Cersei talking with the representative of the Iron Bank, which I love how in Game of Thrones you have dragons, you have magic, you have epic sword fights and such, but just like in real life, money talks, and the bankers are the guys who are kind of the real assholes, you know what I mean? And basically even Cersei understands that she has to appease the Iron Bank that she owes so much money to if she wants to ultimately survive. And it seems like they come to an agreement. She says to him, give me 2 weeks and I can pay you back 2 weeks. It's a lot of money. We heard the Crown was at least 6 million in debt, I believe, to the Iron Bank. So Cersei clearly has a plan up her sleeve, which we see later on. Tyrion eventually manages to get Dany to agree to give Jon Snow the dragon glass that he's asked for. It's essentially no loss to her. She thinks, why not? May as well make some friends in Westeros. So he finally gets that, and I feel like that was a good move on Dany's part. I thought Tyrion was very wise in the counsel he gave her, saying, give him something for nothing, essentially, you don't need it. And, when you want to go to war in Westeros, allies, the more you have, the better. And Dany made a really good move by giving Jon Snow what he wanted there. Then we head back up north to Winterfell, where Sansa has taken command and seems to be doing a great job. She's making sure there are enough rations for winter. She's making sure armour is being made correctly to fight the White Walkers. Littlefinger is behind her always, as he seems to be, constantly creeping up on her. And basically he says to her, don't trust anyone, don't trust your friends, don't trust your enemies, assume everyone's going to betray you, assume every scenario, rehearse it through your head, and he's filling her with all this advice, which perhaps in somewhere like King's Landing would be good advice, but Sansa's in Winterfell, she's surrounded by loyal followers, she's with Jon Snow. I really think she has some solid allies at the moment, and Littlefinger's his advice, I think, is just trying to screw with her and trying to make her feel more isolated than she really is. Then Bran rocks up, and that's a reunion. I initially thought it was going to be Arya who was at the gate, but no, it was Bran. They have a heartfelt reunion, more so for Sansa. Bran's pretty spaced out these days, given everything he can do. They go to the Weirwood Tree, which we first saw in Season 1, where Ned Stark was cleaning his sword after executing the Night's Watch deserter. And they talk a bit. Bran just seems to say creepy shit these days. I mean, I get that he's meant to be pretty meta now, that he can pretty much see everything that's happened in the past and present, and seems to be somewhat aware of the future. Sansa, she's kind of trying to have a normal conversation with him, and he turns around and goes, you looked really beautiful that night you got raped. I don't know what Sansa's meant to say to that. She pretty much just walks off. And I don't blame her. Bran, to me, is like he's become so spaced out and so weird. And he's clearly not the Bran Stark she knew anymore. he's going very kind of, it's like the picture he's seeing is just so much bigger than everything. I've got to say, I find Bran kind of difficult character to like these days, because everything he does and says is just weird, and other than him being the three-eyed raven, I feel like he's quite a boring character, to be honest. But it was good to see Starks reunited. I really hope Arya manages to get to Winterfell and maybe see Bran and see Sansa, and who knows, maybe even Jon Snow. Then we go down to the Citadel, where Ser Jorah seems to have made a complete recovery from his greyscale. I have to admit, I'm surprised he's recovered that quickly, that fast. Greyscale has been built up to be a really deadly disease, and in the last episode you could see it was just all over him, and he was covered, and you could tell he was in pain and immobilised. And as Sam was peeling it away, I thought, Jesus, that's going to take a while to heal. But no, he seems to have recovered very quickly. I mean, the passing of time in the latest seasons of Game of Thrones seems to be kind of here and there, so maybe it was meant to be more than like a week or something. But, I've got to say, like, I would have thought it would take longer. But still, he's recovered. He's like, right, see you guys later. Cheers, Sam. Overall, though, it was good to see Sam and Jorah together. Jorah's father, Gior, was an important figure in Sam's life at the Wall, and it was cool to see Sam, showing his respect by helping his son out. And I hope we see Jorah and Sam meet again. They kind of they say, hope we meet again. Who knows if they will, but that would be great. Then we see Dany's plan of attack against Castle Rock, the Lannister stronghold, with a kind of cool voiceover from Tyrion. But it turns out the Lannisters are prepared, and it's all a big double bluff. First of all, we see a montage of a theoretical battle of Grey Worm and his forces tried to lay siege to Castle Rock. But Tyrion goes, but we wouldn't do that, of course, because as I worked in the sewers of Castle Rock, I know that there's a secret entrance, and you get to see Grey Worm like going through a little room Tyrion built for himself, where, I don't know, I like to imagine that was where like teenage Tyrion used to go and sulk when he had an argument with his dad, and later on that's where he brought his whores in secret, and you even see like a mattress there with some candles. It's like Tyrion's little shag pad. You know what I mean? As someone I heard online said, it was his home door. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was funny. And then you see Grey Worm and his forces take Castle Rock surprisingly easily by being able to open the doors and just let the army straight in. But it turns out it's a bluff. Grey Worm is thinking, this was too easy. He looks up on the battlements, turns to see Euron's fleet intercepting the ships that brought Grey Worm and his crew there. So it's not looking good for him. He's essentially in Castle Rock, kind of held hostage by Euron now. Dany has suffered yet another loss. Then it reveals that Jaime has taken the bulk of the Lannister forces and has laid siege to Highgarden and takes it without too much of a fuss. This then brings us to the final scene of the show, and in my opinion the strongest scene of this episode. We see Jaime finding Olenna in her room, and essentially she's lost everything at this point. All her family's dead. Loras, Marjorie, Mace were blown up in the Sept. She was the last member of the Highgarden family that we know. It's over. It's over for the Tyrells. I really liked how Jaime approached her with respect. Season 1 Jaime would have been cocky as hell, but Jaime, he says to her, Cersei wanted him to bring Olenna back and have her whipped through the streets and stuff, but Jaime's not going to do that, and he offers her a quick and painless way out. However, Dame Diana Rigg, fantastic actress. I loved her final scene. I think she's one of the only characters who owns her death, if you know what I mean. She's still a badass dying. She says to Jaime, she talks about Joffrey. She's able to just speak so openly. Her and Jaime can speak so openly with each other because they know she's going to die soon. And I loved the scene, Dame Diana Rigg, fantastic, where she sees Jaime's now carrying Joffrey's Valyrian sword, Widow's Wail, sorry. And she says, what did he call it? And he goes, Widow's Wail. And she looks at him and she goes, he really was a cunt, wasn't he? I laughed so hard. Fantastic delivery. And, even Jaime, it was his son. He was sworn to protect him, but even he can't refute it. And then Olenna, after she takes the poison, delivers her final blow against the Lannisters and says, it was me that killed Joffrey. and she doesn't drop Littlefinger in the shit, surprisingly, but I guess she just wants all the victory for that. And her one last way to hurt Cersei, she goes, make sure she knows. Jaime's just like, shit. You know, and, you know, it was a fantastic scene. And I suppose this confirms what Jaime suspected, that Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey. And some people have speculated, and I'm not sure if this will come to pass, but some people have speculated that this could mean that perhaps Cersei might forgive Tyrion now that she kind of has proof that Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey. I doubt it, but some people thought that maybe she might try and persuade Tyrion to join the Lannisters again. I doubt he would take her up on that offer, given how much he hates her, but, you know, it's worth noting. Overall, I thought this was a cracking episode. It seemed like they just fit so much in. You know, we're really going hell for leather now. There's only 10 episodes in total of Game of Thrones left. I mean, we're really in the home run now. It's crazy. I remember when this series started in 2011, how young and naive we were. But yeah, I think it's been great so far. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. This episode's name, The Queen's Justice, a very fitting title. Cersei got so much revenge in this episode. She got revenge against the Sand Snakes. She killed Cyan Sand and, you know, essentially has killed Ilaria, very slowly, admittedly. This was all about her taking back control. She's got the Iron Bank off her back. She's, you know, kind of done a double bluff with Castle Rock. She's destroyed Highgarden and used its gold to pay off the Iron Bank. You know, this was very much an episode of Cersei getting her own back. And, you know, in other ways, it could be interpreted, the Queen's Justice could refer to you know, different side of the same coin. Daenerys having justice towards Jon Snow, but offering mercy, you know. I think there's a lot to read into there. It's kind of how Cersei is going mad with power and just killing anyone that gets in her way. That's her justice. Whereas Daenerys is showing more restraint and being more diplomatic, and that's her justice. So yeah, another cracking episode. It's a shame to see Olenna go. I really enjoyed her performance throughout. I think she's been a fantastic character, but what a way to go out. See you guys next time for the next episode. Vala Morghulis.